Welcome to Roots and Roofs, where we explore the intersection of motherhood and entrepreneurship in the real estate world. I am your host, Mackenzie Shelton. Join us as we dive into the unique journey of balancing family life with owning a thriving real estate business. Each episode, we will uncover inspiring stories, practical tips, mindset conversations, and expert insights from others who are carving their paths in the real estate industry. Whether you are a seasoned realtor, a prospective buyer, or simply curious about the dynamics of managing both home and career, Roots and Roofs is your go-to podcast for heartfelt discussions and invaluable advice. Tune in and discover how these incredible women are building deep roots from the ground up while nurturing their families under the same roof. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Roots and Roofs podcast. I have an amazing human with me today, Becky Colburn. Becky has been a licensed realtor for over 20 years, correct, Becky?
Absolutely.
And she has had various roles as a team leader, as a coach, as a team leader of a market center. Am I missing anything else?
No, that's it. You got it. Growing teams, doing all the things in real estate.
Awesome. And I had the privilege the last couple years to coach with you. And I am so excited and honestly honored that you would come on my podcast and kind of give us all of your wisdom and knowledge of all of the last 20 some years. So welcome. And why don't we just start with you kind of telling everybody a little bit more about yourself than what I just said.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Mackenzie. It's actually my honor because this is just like, I know how long you've been dreaming about these things. And so it's really cool to see you hit your goals, which I'm not surprised because you are a goal getter for sure.
Thank you.
I'm married, probably like everyone else. I have a stepdaughter and I have 3 grandchildren from my beautiful stepdaughter that my husband gave to me when we got married back in 2011. So we are a blended family, which is fantastic. We live in Naples, Florida. We love it here. It's sunny year round. It's super hot in the summertime right now. So we're staying inside. And my fur baby is Remington. He's awesome. And he's kind of my sidekick. And yeah, as far as real estate goes, here's the thing. I found myself being really good at real estate, and I found myself being even better at helping people achieve their goals in real estate, right? And so, I did it for free for a really long time. And then in 2018, I decided, hey, I'm going to start getting paid for this gig. And it's just been one of the most rewarding things that I've ever done. I mean, it's really awesome to watch people grow and thrive. And, again, your team member, Courtney, she coaches with me. And, I just had my coaching call with her. She's fantastic and watching her thrive. So, yeah, I'm just really excited to be here and can't wait to get into our conversation today.
Awesome. Well, you're absolutely right that you somehow magically help people kind of dig deep and kind of get to the root of their big why and all the things that they really want out of life. And you are a fantastic motivator at helping people actually do the work to get the things that they actually want. So
Right.
I know literally Courtney and I were just talking about this yesterday that she was like, I just don't know how she just like pulls these things out of me. And then like, I just go do them. Like I have to do them for her. I'm going to like disappoint her. And I was like, I know, I feel the same way. Like, I don't want to have to come back to you a week later and be like, I didn't do any of those things.
Right. And I love that you said that because that's so really kind of maybe what we're going to talk about today, right? Like the actions of creating a business. And it's hard. It's hard work. It's hard work, but it's rewarding.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so let's dive into the questions here. So my very first question for you, you've worked with a ton of business owners and agents. What are the most common reasons you see people either do really well or not do really well?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, it's pretty consistent throughout all of my years of working with agents. And heck, let's just talk about myself, right? I mean, same thing with me. But I would say one of I think the myths of real estate agents is that you have to be someone who is um, outgoing, talkative, you know, hugely inspirational, influential to be successful in this business. And quite frankly, the most successful people I see in the business actually may not necessarily have all of those traits. Um, what I see is the number one indicator of someone who's going to do well in this business is that they're fully committed. So on the opposite side of that would be a lack of commitment. That's like the number one thing I see, right?
Yeah.
I hear from
Yeah.
folks all the time. I'm getting into real estate for flexibility. How many times do you hear that as you're talking to folks, right?
Oh my gosh, all the time. Yeah.
Right. And I think to myself, what flexibility, right? Because I mean, honestly, you get the flexibility after you build the business, but it's really, it's 3, 4 years of a grind.
Oh yeah.
Right. So lack of commitment and, not thinking about it like a job. And what I
Yeah.
mean by that, so let's talk about like a new agent and an experienced agent, right? So, like a
Yeah.
new agent, not thinking of it as a job, meaning that you don't have set lead generation hours. Like every
Yep.
single day on your calendar, you're not committed to coming in and punching the time clock. It's no
Yep.
different. You're just your own boss now, right? But you still have to punch a time clock, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
then with the experienced agent who might be listening to this podcast going, you know what, I got a great business. I'm making it happen. Well, yeah, but what is your commitment to grow your revenue through people, right? And
Yes.
what kind of clock are you punching in and out of in terms of growing people, getting people on your team, or hiring leverage, and then
Yes.
becoming the leader for that leverage? So lack of commitment would be the first thing. And I don't know
Mhm.
about you. I know you've seen similar, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I literally just met with someone who was kind of asking about joining our team. And so I just talked to him for about 30 minutes, and he was just like, what do you think the difference is between people who have been successful on your team and people that haven't? And I was like, 100% the commitment and then the consistency, right? Those are
Totally.
the only two things. Like I did a mastermind a couple weeks ago, and I was like, you guys, this job is uh simple, not easy. Like
Hmm.
that's people want to make it really complicated, but it is super simple, but you have to do the work. It's not easy.
Correct. Isn't that true? And it's so funny because the second thing I was going to say is lack of consistency. Once you figure
Yeah.
out what you know you need to do, it's the lack of consistency with doing it every day. Now, look, here's the thing. And again, this is for an experienced agent or for a new agent. Mackenzie, I know you and I know myself. We're not 100%. Perfection is overrated, right?
Yeah. 100%.
And and yet the intention must be there so that every day you're better than the day before, or
Yep.
every week you're better than the week before in terms of your consistency around what you've committed to do, right?
Yeah.
And so I would say that's like the second thing is not following a calendar, not saying no to things when when something comes up to jump on top of your lead gen time, not saying no to that. So the
Yeah.
consistency is a big issue. As a coach, it's really funny. Really, the first two things I work on is the commitment and the consistency. They're like, well,
Hmm.
I want to learn about social media, or I want to learn how to hire the right people, or I want to learn how to get agents. Yeah, we'll talk about that. But the
Yep.
first thing I want to see is I want to see you create some habits and get some consistency in your actions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to know what? I was actually reflecting on this not that long ago, that when you and I first started coaching together, like we talked about my goals to expand the team and grow the business and all these things,
Mhm.
but you were like, first I need you to make 50 calls a week and get X number of appointments and all this stuff. And I thought back to that and I was like, man, she was just trying to make sure I was going to actually show up. So
That's exactly right. It's really funny because yesterday I met with an agent as well. And we were talking and I said, I'd tell you, and she wanted to coach with me. And at this time in my life, I have certain criteria for coaching. You have to do a
Yeah.
certain amount of volume and et cetera. And she's not quite there. So
Mhm.
I told her yesterday, I said, I tell you what, I said, I'll give you 30 days. Here's what I want you to do for 30 days every day. Text
Mhm.
me your numbers after you do it each day.
Mhm.
And I said, and at the end of 30 days, if you can make it happen, I will coach you. And after 2 days, I haven't heard anything else from her. So, it's like it's not, I'm not saying that's bad or good, but what I am
Yeah.
saying is you have to understand what you're willing to commit to if you're going to open your own business, whether it's real estate or whatever. You have to really show up at a
Yeah.
consistent level and be committed. Those are the two main things.
Yep. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's dive into the first kind of trap that you mentioned. Not,
Mm.
yeah. Why do you think this is such a common issue for business owners?
Yeah. So I think what happens is that we have a lack of clarity about what our job is.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to commit to something when you're not really sure what your true job is to get the results. Because then it's not that you don't want to commit. I really do believe people in their heart want to commit,
Yeah.
but there's so much coming at us in social media, in email, telling us we need to do this and we need to do this and we need to do this, right? When really we need to just focus on one specific thing or two specific things. And we need to do those one or two specific things every single day. So let's say we're not even talking about real estate. Let's say we're talking about, I don't know, selling a pencil,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to sell a pencil, you have to have people to sell a pencil to.
Yep.
So what's the one way that you can do every day? What's the one thing you can do every day so that you can talk to enough people to sell pencils, right?
Uh, you know what I would say? Go door knock and try and
So
sell somebody the pencil.
exactly, right? And so I think what happens is that we're told to be on social media and do, posts and videos and all this other stuff. And that is a great passive marketing opportunity. There's no doubt
Yeah.
about it. I'm not going to poo-poo it, right? It's a great passive market. But when you're starting a business or when you're growing a business, you need active marketing
Hmm.
more than you need passive marketing, which is actually being in the room talking to people. So
Yeah.
I think number one is lack of clarity on what the actions are that you need to get yourself going. I think that result is the number one result in not having a commitment,
Yeah.
is to not understanding. And then you say, okay, well, when am I going to do this every day? So let's say you're an experienced agent and you kind of are hitting your threshold for production and you really need to get some leverage. Then you might say, okay, I need to meet with 5 agents a week, right?
Mhm.
When am I going to make these calls? What time am I going to make these calls? And I'm going to put that in my calendar and do that every day so that you can then get leverage into your business, right?
Yes.
Um,
Absolutely.
so I think that it's just knowing what to do and when to do it. It's very simplified, but it's the truth. And then the second thing is having someone hold you accountable,
Yes, 100%. Yeah. This
right?
is this is why I say everyone should join a good team. Not all teams are created equal. Um,
Correct.
but if you are a newer agent, and to be honest, even if you're a seasoned agent and you don't have uh, a good direction for things, and you want to have consistency and commitment and all of those things, like join a team, because a good team leader is going to help you stay accountable to all the things that you really want.
Yeah, I love it that you brought that up because the reality is even if you're an experienced agent, you may say, I don't want to lead people. It's not my
Yeah.
jam. I don't want to have an admin. I don't want to have agents. Okay. Well, then interview teams
Yeah.
find out how they can help you get leverage, and then invest in a team so you can do more business and get more time back, right? That's a
Yes.
commitment, and it provides you with that accountability. So there are so many different ways to go about it. So a team or just hiring a coach.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you have to have someone who's going to hold you accountable. And, I don't know about you, but my husband is not he's not the one to hold me accountable, because I'm going to get really aggravated if he asks me how many calls
Yeah.
I've made today,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. No. Oh my gosh. I would not tolerate that very well. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same reason that Jack and I don't work out together, right? Like I'm like, no, yeah, you go do your thing, I'll do my thing. I'm gonna find somebody else to be held accountable to. Absolutely.
100%. My husband and I the same way. We're both way too high B's to
Yes.
hold each other accountable. He's got to
Yeah.
have his coach, and I got to have my coach, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah, so I would say for commitment, that'd be the number one thing, is not understanding, not having clarity around what you're supposed to be doing, the one or two things you're supposed to be doing, and not having someone holding you accountable to it.
Yeah. So if you were a newer agent listening to this podcast, okay,
Mhm.
where would you say they should go for that clarity around what they need to be doing every day?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first thing is, of course, making sure you're aligned with the right company. All right. Just like you said, not all teams are created equal. Not all companies are created equal. And,
Absolutely.
for people who are listening, even you and I, Mackenzie, we were two different companies, right? But
Mhm.
at the
Yeah.
end of the day, there is a company out there for you that is going to align with a production mentality. That you need to have to, really do well in real estate. And not
Yeah.
all brokerages are focused on that. Not all of them
Right.
are.
Right.
So you want to be in relationship with and have your license hung, in my opinion, with a production based company that has training on YouTube that you can see, and websites that you can see, where they really focus on high level accountability
Yeah.
and production, right?
Yeah.
So for a new agent, that'd be the first thing. The second thing would be for them to look for a team,
Yeah.
right? To look for a team. And it's really interesting, because the one thing I hear from a lot of agents is, well, I don't want to go on a team because I don't want to share my commission. Well, the reality is that if you're going to hire a high level coach, or if you're going to join a team, you're going
Mhm.
to be sharing your commission.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if you're going to be
Absolutely.
held accountable by anybody, or if you're going to be in business with anybody that's going to help you get better, you're making an investment of
Mhm.
commission dollars in that. Think about it. The reason most people don't want to work a 9 to 5 job and they want to go into business for themselves is because they want to make more money, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But think about this. At that 9 to 5 job, the reason that you're not making as much money is because they're paying people. That company is paying people to hold you accountable.
Yep.
You got
Absolutely.
bosses, supervisor, whatever. So
Yep.
on some level, you're always, even as an entrepreneur, going to be making an investment into people to hold you accountable. And
Yep.
if you're not, you're going to struggle. And so I
Absolutely.
would say team coach, for a new agent, there's coaches are not created equal either. And there are coaching opportunities out there for you that are at a lower cost. It
Yep.
could be group coaching, right? That sort of thing.
Right.
So I would just look into that. But
Yeah.
company, a team, or online for group coaching.
Yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely. What steps or strategies can a business owner take to avoid falling into some of the traps that you just talked about?
Yeah. So I hate to be like a broken record, but get a coach, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
for
the
real.
first thing, right? It's like
Yeah.
the real first thing. Um, I would say that, first of all, treat it like a job. And here's what I mean by that. When you get up every day, what is your morning routine?
Hmm.
When you had a job before that you worked for someone else that you had to clock in, you got up, did what you had to do, and you drive into that job,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Don't lose that habit.
So actually kind of funny side story. There is an agent in our office that has ended up being wildly successful, but
Mhm.
she didn't start out that way. And she loves to tell the story of like kind of her first, I think it was her first year in the business, her first couple years in the business. She was like, I think I watched more soap operas than I made phone calls, right? And she talks about how she like slept in till, like 9, 10 o'clock every day, and all this stuff. And she was actually at a different brokerage at that time and then moved over to our brokerage and was like,
Mhm.
literally just setting a schedule completely changed the trajectory of every day for me, right? So
Right.
yeah, you're 100% correct. Like go read things like The Miracle Morning and there's what is it called, like the 5 a.m. club or something like that. Like
There's the 5 a.m. club. There's Miracle Morning. And then I was also going to suggest the Atomic Habits.
yes.
So by
Yeah.
James Clear. I mean, that book right there will talk to you about that morning habit of getting up and doing the same thing every day. The most successful agents that I coach literally get up, and every day they start it the same way. They
Yeah.
do affirmations, they do reading, they do affirmations, they get up before their kids get up. And I'm talking, I have agents who have little kids at home. I mean, well, you were one of my clients, right? Like
Yes.
you've got
Yep.
little kids at home. You
Yep.
had a baby at home. And, so, get up before everyone else, read, do affirmations, work out, whatever that is, and then get into your office, whether
Yep.
that's walking into your home office, which I would challenge people on how effective home officing is when you work for yourself.
Yes.
And go to an office and get in there and then start your day and start your schedule. And then, like you said, create a schedule that works for you. I come in at 8:30. At 9 o'clock, I start making phone calls. 10 o'clock, I start follow up. 11, that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Mhm.
Your success in real estate, and if you take nothing else from anything I've said while I've been on this podcast, your success in real estate, my experience in coaching hundreds of agents, is that your success in real estate is directly correlated to the consistency and repetitiveness of your morning schedule between 5 a.m. and noon every day.
I would 100% agree with that.
5 a.m. to noon,
Yeah.
because afternoon, life gets in the way.
Oh, yeah. That's when all the 5 alarm fires are happening,
Yep.
and you've got to pick your kids up and you got to do this and that, or you've got
Mhm.
showings and appointments. And yeah, absolutely. I
Correct.
agree with that.
So 5 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., getting to quote unquote work, doing your affirmations, getting your mindset ready. And
Yeah.
then between 8:30 a.m. and 11:30 a.m., lead generation. If you create a winning schedule and nail that winning morning schedule Monday through Friday, in 60, 90 days, you're going to see some amazing success start in your
Yeah.
business. So
I agree with you.
that's my advice on that. That's a main strategy.
Yeah. Just a little side story that I haven't really gotten to share on this podcast yet about myself. So in 2018 was when I think I read The Miracle Morning, and that
Mhm.
oh no, I'm sorry. First I read High Performance Habits
Yes, that's a good
by
one.
Brendon
That's a good.
Burchard.
Yeah.
And then I read The Miracle Morning, but 2018 was when I started getting up at 5 in the morning, like towards the end of that year. And then literally 2019 on, I have just continued to have amazing years in real estate. And it was that was the catalyst, right? I started getting up at
Mhm.
5 in the morning. And actually, because I read High Performance Habits, my only goal was to just get out of bed at 5 a.m. Because he talks in the book about how this guy, he was trying to coach this guy about just going to the gym. And this guy was like, I just always fail at actually, going. And he was like, just go and sit in the parking lot, right? And then go to the door and then, go inside, right? So my only goal is to get out of bed. And then I was like, well, I'm up, I should probably do something, right? Like, so it just kind of snowballed into this. I'm going to do affirmations. I'm going to read. I'm going to work out. I'm going to, and actually that's when I would then do, because my kids were all still asleep, I could actually do lead generation and lead follow-up from like 6 to 7 before they woke up. And
That's right.
I would have so many people be like, why are you texting me at 6 a.m? I'm like, this is the only time I have by myself, but I mean, really, it totally worked. Absolutely. Because that year I went from doing, I think I was doing probably 20 some transactions to then that next year I did 50, right? So I basically doubled my production just from doing something simple like that. So yeah.
Mackenzie, that is just so key. Here's the thing is that any agent that's gotten into the business since the pandemic, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not saying this is everyone because it's not, but my experience with a lot of those agents, if they're still in the business today, and many of them have gotten out, right?
Yeah.
Because the world's changed. And especially
Yeah.
if you live in Florida, you are in a different world. We are in what feels like very much a recession market, right?
Yeah.
And not just Florida, but there's some other larger areas that are the same way. So many of them may have decided they just are getting out of the business. And so if you got into the business during the pandemic and you really want to make this work, but you're finding yourself struggling right now because maybe you didn't create that habit of schedule and morning schedule and lead generation and that sort of thing, then there's no better time than today to just hit the restart button. I mean, just say tomorrow morning, I'm going to get up at 5 a.m., right? I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. and I'm going to read the 5 a.m. club book. If that's all you do, right? It's going to get your mindset to start thinking differently, just like you did.
Yeah.
So I really think that is, it's such a strong testimonial from you about why that's so important.
Yeah. Well, that actually kind of led into my next question. So let's talk a little bit about mindset kind of around overcoming some of those obstacles.
Yeah. So I find that the next obstacle that someone has after they make the commitment, and I'm sure you have found this too, is that the next thing is, well, who do I call?
Yeah.
Or, well, I don't want to call those people. I don't want to be rejected.
Yeah. I don't want them to yell at me. I don't want, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want them to tell me to get lost. I don't want to do this, especially if you're cold calling, right? And if you are just getting the business, maybe you are cold calling.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're an experienced agent, you're trying to do something more and get some leverage. Maybe this is just not real easy for you either. It's easier for you to go call about business.
Well, I mean, you and I have talked about, it's such a mindset shift to go from calling people to ask them if they want to buy or sell a house to then going to asking them if they are interested in joining a team, right? So, this applies to anyone and everyone, no matter where their business is. Yeah,
that's exactly right. We all have a fear of failure. We all have a fear of rejection on some level, some more than others, right? On some level, but it's in there. And on some level, there is some imposter syndrome, right? We feel kind of an imposter syndrome. So that then runs into your mindset. And so I would there's 2 books that I would highly recommend that I believe for me and for some of the other folks that I've worked with are game changers. And one is The Alter Ego by Todd Herman.
Okay.
The Alter Ego Effect by Todd Herman.
I'm adding it to my list right now.
Yeah, I actually have it right here. I mean, it is amazing.
Awesome. Okay.
And the other one is Relentless by Tim S. Grover.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I'll give you a couple of examples on mindset, which is why I think that mindset is not something you can just activate if you really haven't developed some skill set around it, right?
Yeah.
It's not something you can just turn on. And mindset again, usually comes down to one or all of the three things we just talked about: fear of rejection, fear of failure, or imposter syndrome. Right.
Mhm.
And so it stops us from picking up the phone. It gets us up at 5 a.m. It gets us doing all the things. It gets us ready. It gets us to the office. And then boom, we sit down and we get into email. And email's not on the
Yeah.
calendar. We get on
Yeah.
Facebook. Facebook's not on the calendar, right? I know I'm speaking to everybody who's listening to this call.
Yeah.
So we have to have some kind of tool in our tool bag that we can pull out that's going to help us move through that fear to get on the other side of it, right? And
Yeah.
one of the things I love about the alter ego effect, if you've never read this book, I'll just give you an example, was Beyonce, actually. Okay. So do you know who's Beyonce's alter ego?
Oh,
You ever heard
Queen.
her say the name?
Yeah, isn't it Queen Bee, or no, is it
Sasha
something else?
Fierce. Sasha Fierce,
Oh, okay. Okay.
right? So, Beyonce, she grew up singing in church. She was
Yeah.
on a singing group with two other women in Destiny's Child. But then when she went on her own, she began with her own music. Some of her dance moves are a little bit more provocative.
Yeah.
She's dressing differently, maybe outside of her comfort zone. It's a little bit more, sexually charged or whatever, right?
Mhm.
And so she had a problem with it. And so she created this alter ego called Sasha Fierce. And so every time she goes on stage, she embodies Sasha Fierce. And when she's off stage, I don't know if you've noticed, but it's not like Beyonce is really on social media all that much. She's pretty quiet, she's pretty private, that sort of thing. But that's not who she personifies when she's on stage.
Right. Right.
So one of the things that I do when I lead generate is I put on an alter ego hat and I just become someone else, right? And so that I'm like the Teflon John. That's what I call myself, like Gotti, I'm the Teflon Don. I said John, I mean Don. And your nose and your rejection of me just bounces off of me like Teflon because it doesn't even matter to me, right?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so that is one way. It's a hokey thing, but it is one way to get to that. A lot of people do it, and I'll tell you how it works. Do you know who Bo Jackson is? Back in the day, he was a football player and a baseball
Oh,
player. He
yeah.
did dual sports. Okay.
Yeah.
So Todd Herman was talking to him one day, and he's like, "Man, you're the most fierce, football player, blah, 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 blah." And he told Todd Herman, he said, Bo Jackson has never played one down of professional football. Only Jason does. And he's
Oh
talking
my
about
God.
Jason. Yeah, he's talking about Jason from Friday the 13th. Because when Bo Jackson was on the field, I believe his story is, if I'm remembering it right, because I read it, I've read it several times, but he would get really angry. He'd get mad on the field and his frustration would come out and he'd get flagged and, all that stuff. And so he became Jason, who is cool, calm, collected, killer.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant, Black Mamba. So
Sure.
yeah, he was a Black Mamba. So when we're talking about mindset, it's who are you willing to become to do what you need to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Releasing yourself and becoming someone else in that moment is a key strategy of mindset. And
Sure.
if you listen to
Absolutely.
people, Ed Millett or whomever, talk about mindset, they're all saying the same thing, which is it's who you become in that moment, what you believe about yourself, and who you become in that moment that takes you above and beyond who you are so that you can pick up the phone and make that call and do what you need to do. So I think that mindset has to do with really understanding who you need to be in that moment. And it may not be the person that you are with every day or who you are every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. No, I love that. I've never done that before, but every time I either didn't get somebody to answer me, or if somebody like really did tell me off or whatever, I always created this
Oh, I lost you. I lost you.
Oh, okay, sorry. I don't know what happened.
That's
We can,
fine. And by the
we'll
way, I have my 1 o'clock pushed to 1:15, so I have more time.
oh, good. Okay,
Resting.
perfect. Okay, so I don't know what happened, but we'll kind of just keep going
You'll
on
fix
that.
it. Yeah. So what were you going to say?
Okay, so I actually don't do that, but what I always did, if like somebody didn't answer me or if somebody told me off or something like that, I always kind of like made up this story in my head of like what they were doing or how bad their day was or like what happened to them or something like that, so that it kind of wouldn't be about me and it would be about them and how, just I had a guy literally, really tell me off one time. He was a for sale by owner, and I like made up this whole story in my head about how his wife had left him the day before and all this crazy stuff just so it wouldn't be about me. But I think whatever makes you actually get out of your own head and get get your limiting beliefs out of the way and make the call, like just do
Mm.
it seriously. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of different strategies. Some people talk about knowing what your why is, right? Like, why
Yeah.
are you doing this? What do you want? And some some of my clients have had a hard time nailing that, right? They're like,
Yeah.
I don't know, especially, and here's the thing, especially when they get to a level where they start getting comfortable. So for all of you experienced agents out there, once in the beginning, maybe the challenge and getting to where you wanted to be was your why. And now that you're there, you're like, all right, I'm cruising. This is pretty
I,
good.
seriously, this is
Am I
exactly what
speaking to the
happened.
choir?
Yes, yes. Like this is exactly what happened to me because my whole goal the first 6 years in the business was I am going to, make enough money, close enough deals, start a team, all these things so that my husband can quit his job, right? Like that was the goal. And then we did that and I was like, why am I doing this every day? Like I literally just could not, kind of figure out what my why was beyond that. It really took me like 2 years to kind of get back to this place of understanding why I was getting up every day and continuing to do this. So if you are listening to this podcast and you are in that weird transition of like all of a sudden I don't know why I'm continuing this business or you feel very lost, just keep pushing through and keep searching for that and you will find it. I promise you will.
Or get a coach to help you find it. I mean, the thing
Yeah,
about coaching
you
is,
were
is it's
very instrumental in that. Like you were very instrumental in helping me like kind of refigure things out. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad because that really brings me joy, right? And
Yeah.
you and I both know, I mean, you and I aren't coaching now. It's not like you get a coach and you stay with them forever. I mean,
No.
you need to hit the reset button. You need to figure some things out. And then once you can get back cruising again, you're good. And then if you find yourself kind of getting back into a hole, you hire a coach to bring you back out. I mean, think about
Yeah.
golf. I mean, golfers, they have swing coaches, but then once they become really good, they don't. But then if they start missing their swing, they go back to their swing coach, right? So
Yeah.
that is, I think, is really super key is to get someone to help you, especially for a veteran, experienced agent. Once you've achieved what you want to, there's nothing worse in a real estate business than becoming complacent and like, why am I doing this every day?
Yes.
You know
Yes.
that, right, Mackenzie? It
Well,
doesn't feel good.
No, it doesn't. And when you're stagnant, basically what's the saying? Like if you're not growing, you're dying sort of
Yeah,
thing, right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
I mean that's 100% true. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to continue adding agents to your team, or you have to, if you have a different type of business, continue to take on more and more clients, or, help more and more people, or whatever it is. But you need to continue to grow as a person so that your business can continue to evolve to whatever that means for you. Yeah, absolutely.
100%. I love it. You said it so perfectly. It's true.
Yeah.
It's spoken by someone who's experienced it.
Yes, 100%. A couple times now. Yeah.
A couple times. There you go.
Okay. Well, I want to just leave with one last question for you,
Okay.
because I think that I know you're going to say something great. So, what's one piece of advice you would give to someone who is currently feeling stuck in their business?
So, one of the things that I think is really, really fundamental that we speed over a lot of the time is for us to sit back and really do a deep dive into who, what, when, why, and how and where, right? And what happens, and if we really get rid of all of our ambitions and our leave our ambitions at the door, leave our ego at the door, leave our well, I'm already doing this, so now I have to keep doing this at the door, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And come into some time with yourself. And I would say it's, 2 or 3 hours to sit down and really map out, why am I doing this? Right?
Mm-hmm.
What does this mean to me? What does
Mm-hmm.
this mean to my family or the people around me? What is significant about it? And if I'm going to continue doing this, how do I envision it looking?
Mm-hmm. I love that. I really
And
do.
really, really envision it how your business should look, not how someone else's business around you looks, because their business is their business. It has their personality, their commitment, their style written all over it. And it's not yours. You're unique. There's one of you. We don't need another one
No.
of you, just you. And how do you envision that working? And fall in love with that vision.
Yeah.
And I will say this, sometimes, doesn't happen often, but there are times when I have someone do this exercise that they come back and they're like, I'm not in love with this vision.
Yeah.
And having the courage to be real enough with yourself to then make a change, to do something that you are going to be in love with, not because it's easier, but because you're more passionate about it. And let me
Yeah.
just tell you, if you're in this business and you think your vision for it and your reason for doing it is because of the money, then you're not going to last very long,
No.
because
No.
it has to be something bigger. Like for you, it was getting your husband to be able to quit his job, right?
Yeah.
It has to be something bigger than money. And yeah, money goes along with getting him to quit his job, but that's
Yeah.
not, the money wasn't the reason. Because when
No.
it's the money, you'll give up on it. You'll just go
Yeah.
get a job.
Yep, absolutely. And kind of even taking that a step further, if you're doing it honestly, even for the money or the flexibility, when things get hard and maybe you're starting to get scarce on either of those things, that's when you'll kind of just give up, right? And not keep going. Yeah.
It is. So I would take some time to plan it out. I would stop, I would put blinders on and stop consuming social media for a while. I have
Yeah.
seen that one of the number one reasons that agents derail is because they're not sure what to do, or their mindset's kind of muddy, and then they spend a lot of time on social media and they get even more confused. I'm not saying social media is bad. I'm just saying that if you're not super confident and moving forward in a confident manner in what you're doing with consistency and a commitment, social media is not the right place to be. Get real and get right with yourself, and then put blinders on and move forward. And of course, I always say this, get someone to help you. You might think, I don't have the money for that. But the reality is there's probably a lot of things that you spend money on that you technically don't have the money for, that aren't giving you the return that a coach will give you in helping you build your business. So,
well, and I'm going to tell you what, when I hired my first coach, I definitely, I mean, my husband was like, I don't know why you think that we have the money to hire somebody like that for them to basically be your therapist every week. Right. I mean, that was kind of his mentality around it. Right. But that was the best thing I ever did. And I did a podcast on that, just a couple podcasts ago about,
and it was fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, it really, you're absolutely right that it really is an investment. And if you don't have somebody in your life that is asking you the questions like you just asked, or giving you advice like you just gave, then when you are lost, you won't be able to dig yourself kind of out of that trench, right? You're going to just keep spinning your wheels until, like you said, you almost kind of give up. So yeah, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely. The last thing I'll say on that, Mackenzie, is that unless we have skin in the game, we won't, and we'll let other things come in front of our showing up, right? We'll let other things take priority in front of our showing up.
Yeah.
My husband's been wanting to lose weight and get into shape since I've been married to him. And he and he used to say the same thing to me about spending money on a coach. And I am a coach, and he would still say things to me like, I can't believe you're doing this, until he sees how good, it works. And so last year he came to me and he said, I didn't even ask you before I did this, but I just spent X amount of dollars and hired a fitness coach. And it was money we didn't have, right?
Yeah.
Like it was a lot of money. And here's the thing. We figured it out, number one.
Yeah.
But number two, my husband lost 64 pounds and he's shredded. And he looks fantastic, by the way.
I agree. He does look great.
And his nutrition is unbelievable, and he's kept it going, and he works out. He won't miss his workout. He travels a lot for work, and he works out when he's traveling. He's up at 5 o'clock in the morning working out, and that trickled down to me. It's made an impact on my life, and now on to our daughter and our grandkids. So the reality is that if you really want it, you will pay someone to help you get it, whether that's going on a team like yours, Mackenzie, or whether that's hiring a coach, or whether that's going with a brokerage that you're going to pay a higher split to, you're going to invest the money in some way to help you get better. And that's an abundant mentality versus a scarcity mentality, which is, well, I'm going to be at 100% company. Well, 100% is great, but it's 100% of nothing. Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And your growth is kind of capped with that. So, I would say that get someone in your world that you're going to be invested in, that's going to help you grow.
I love that. And you want to know what, if you maybe are in a position right now where you genuinely don't have the money, go consume books and podcasts. Mm-hmm. Those are almost free or free. And at least let that kind of be your starting point. Absolutely. Yep.
Absolutely. And you guys, there are coaching programs out there. They're not like one-on-one coaching, but there are coaching programs out there that's like a membership of $99 a month.
Yes, exactly.
There is something out there that you can do to be in a room of accountability. So I would investigate it and make a commitment.
Yeah. Well, Becky, I am just so thankful that you came on here today and imparted all of your wisdom on us. And I miss talking to you every single day.
No.
But you want to know what? I know that you know that I'm headed in a great direction, and I am so thankful that you are helping some of the members of our team, with all of their goals, dreams, ambitions, and I fully believe that God put you on the earth to do exactly what you're doing right now, and I'm just so thankful for you. So.
Oh, I'm thankful for you, and I'm so wicked proud of you. It's unbelievable everything you do. I talk about you all the time to other folks, other clients. I'm like, just like my previous client, Mackenzie, she did this and this by putting these things into place, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just you really made the commitment move forward. And I see that in your team members too. You live it and they're rising to it. And that's what true leadership is. So kudos to you. So I appreciate you and love you dearly and just wish you all the best.
Thank you. Love you too. I am sure that we will talk again soon. Thanks everybody for coming on today, and I will see everybody next week.
Thank you so much for listening to Roots and Roofs podcast today. If you loved today's episode, please let me know. I love hearing from you on Instagram and Facebook, so feel free to send me a DM or tag me in your stories so I can share it too. If you're looking for more information about today's topic, please visit my website, mahoganyacres.com, and all of the information that is listed in the show notes below. Until next time.